Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're heading to the heart of Texas to learn about a true icon of the Lone Star State, the Texas horned lizard.
Or as some folks like to call them, the horny toad.
Exactly. And, I gotta admit, I've always been fascinated by these little guys. They look like something straight out of a prehistoric movie.
Yeah, they definitely have that kind of ancient, almost mystical vibe to them.
For sure. But there's so much more to them than just their looks, right? They've
Mhm.
got this whole survival story going on, this amazing ability to thrive in one of the harshest environments out there.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about the Texas landscape, it's hot, it's dry, resources are scarce, and yet these little lizards have not only survived, they've actually flourished there for millions of years.
It's incredible. So for those of us who might not be familiar with the Texas horned lizard, let's start with the basics. What do these guys look like?
Well, imagine a lizard with a body like a pancake, almost completely flat.
Okay, flat body, got it.
Hmm. And they come in these amazing colors, sandy tans, reddish browns, all perfectly camouflaged to blend in with their surroundings.
So they're already masters of disguise, just from their shape and color.
Oh, absolutely. They're practically invisible when they're sitting still among the rocks and sand.
But there's got to be something that gives them away,
I
right?
mean, the horns.
Ah, yes, the horns. That's the real showstopper.
Mm.
They have this crown of horns on their heads, and it's what gives them that fierce, dragon-like look.
It's definitely intimidating. But are those real horns?
Actually, they're not true horns like you'd see on a bull or something. They're actually modified scales,
Mm.
incredibly tough and sharp.
So they're more like bony projections.
Exactly. And they serve as this amazing defense mechanism. Predators try to take a bite, and they get a mouthful of horns.
Ouch. I bet that sends them running.
You bet. But there's more to their defense than just the horns.
Oh, I know this one. They squirt blood from their eyes, right?
That's right. It's one of the most unique and bizarre defense mechanisms in the animal kingdom. It's pretty metal, I gotta admit. But before we get into the blood squirting, let's back up a bit. We talked about their camouflage, their horns. How big are these guys anyway?
Well, that's the funny thing. They're actually surprisingly small, only about 3 to 5 inches long.
Really? I always pictured them as being much bigger, like the size of a football or something.
Nope. They're pretty compact, and that small size actually works to their advantage, helps them stay hidden and maneuver around in tight spaces.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've got a small, flat, horned lizard that blends in with its surroundings and can squirt blood from its eyes. What else do we need to know about these amazing creatures?
Well, let's talk about their diet. These guys are specialists, and I mean serious specialists.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What do they eat?
Ants.
Ants. Seriously. That's it.
Pretty much. They're particularly fond of harvester ants.
Harvester ants, those tiny little things. Seems like a lot of effort for a lizard.
Well, they've got a few tricks up their scaly sleeves. First off, they have incredible eyesight. They can spot an ant from a distance.
Okay, so they're good at finding them. But how do they catch those tiny things?
They have a super sticky tongue that's lightning fast.
Oh, right. Like a frog, kind of.
Exactly. They can flick that tongue out, snag an ant, and it's game over.
That's wild. But why harvester ants specifically? Are they like extra tasty or something?
It's more about their nutritional value. Harvester ants are packed with protein and other nutrients that horned lizards need to thrive.
So they're like the perfect horned lizard fuel.
Exactly. But unfortunately, there's a problem.
Uh-oh, what's the problem?
Invasive fire ants.
Fire ants, those little devils. I've had my fair share of run-ins with them.
Yeah, they're a real menace, and not just to us. Fire ants are a huge threat to horned lizards.
How so?
Well, for one thing, fire ants are aggressive. They displace native ant species, like our friend the harvester ant, making it harder for horned lizards to find food.
So it's like their grocery store getting shut down.
Pretty much. And to make matters worse, fire ants aren't as nutritious for horned lizards. They lack some of the key nutrients they need.
So even if they do eat fire ants, it's not really doing them any good.
Exactly. It's like trying to survive on junk food.
Man, that's tough. So we've got habitat loss, invasive species. It sounds like the Texas horned lizard has its work cut out for it.
It's definitely facing some challenges. But let's not forget, this is a species that's been around for millions of years. They've got some serious survival skills.
Right. We talked about the horns and the blood squirting, but What else have they got?
Well, remember how we talked about their flat bodies?
Yeah, like a pancake.
Well, that comes in handy when it comes to burrowing. They can dig down into the sand and disappear in the blink of an eye.
Oh, that's right. It's like their own little escape hatch.
Exactly. And they can also puff themselves up, make themselves look bigger and scarier.
So it's like a combination of hiding and intimidating.
Pretty much. They've got a whole arsenal of tricks.
Okay, let's talk about the blood squirting. I know it's for defense, but how does it actually work?
It's pretty wild. They can actually constrict the blood vessels around their eyes, build up pressure, and then squirt a stream of blood at predators.
Whoa, hold on. So they just shoot blood out of their eyeballs.
Yeah, it's kind of gross, but super effective. The blood can travel several feet, and it has a really foul taste, especially to canines.
So it's like a targeted, disgusting surprise attack.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
startles the predator, gives the horned lizard a chance to make a quick escape.
I bet it works like a charm. But I'm guessing there's a limit to how often they can do that, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It takes a lot of energy to build up that blood pressure, so they only use it as a last resort.
Makes sense. So they've got all these amazing adaptations, but they're still facing some serious threats. We talked about fire ants, but what about their habitat?
Unfortunately, their habitat is shrinking rapidly due to human activities.
Like what kind of activities?
Urbanization, agriculture, and the use of pesticides are all major factors.
So we're basically squeezing them out of their homes.
In a nutshell, yes. And the pesticides are particularly harmful. They not only kill off the ants that horned lizards depend on, but they can also poison the lizards themselves.
So it's a double whammy. And this is happening all across Texas.
It's definitely a widespread problem. But the good news is that there are people working hard to protect these amazing creatures.
That's good to hear. What kind of efforts are being made?
Well, there are a lot of conservation organizations and state agencies working to protect and restore horned lizard habitat.
Like setting aside land for them.
Exactly. And they're also working on things like reducing pesticide use and controlling fire ant populations.
So it's a multi-pronged approach.
It has to be. We need to address all the threats if we want to see these guys thrive again.
Well, they've certainly got a lot of people rooting for them. I mean, the Texas horned lizard is the official state reptile of Texas, right?
That's right. They're a true Texas icon.
And hopefully that status will help raise awareness about their plight and inspire more people to get involved in conservation efforts.
I sure hope so. They deserve all the help they can get.
Well said. So, to wrap things up, we've learned that the Texas horned lizard is a master of survival, perfectly adapted to its harsh environment, with its camouflage, its horns, its burrowing skills, and even its blood-squirting defense mechanism.
But unfortunately, they're facing some serious challenges due to habitat loss, invasive species, and pesticide use.
It's a reminder that even the toughest creatures are vulnerable to human impacts.
And that we all have a role to play in protecting biodiversity.
Absolutely. So as we go about our daily lives, let's think about the small changes we can make to help protect not just the Texas horned lizard, but all the amazing creatures that share our planet.
It's a great way to honor these incredible survivors and ensure that future generations can enjoy their presence.
Well said. Until next time, stay curious.